Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about facial recognition, surveillance, and why the the struggle for privacy is not over yet, even though it's getting very difficult, and why you shouldn't give up on your privacy. But before we do that, you guys know the drill. I like to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, where you can get plugged into all of our latest content, everything you see right here, articles, essays, vlogs, interviews. Got lots of interesting interviews coming up that you guys are not going to want to miss. And yeah, generally, this is the best way to stay plugged into my work, where you can sign up to follow us on minds.com, on Steemit. You can join our Discord channel. You can get text list updates right there. You can also support my work if you'd like to keep me going on Patreon or Subscribestar. And also, I do believe we have our fundraiser campaign going on. This might be the last day of it. Let's check it out real quick. But I just want to say thanks to everybody who has been supporting our efforts to raise funds and to keep broadcasting important information. We're almost to 2,500. If we can get that by today, that would be so dope. 36 hours left. We're almost to $2,500, which would be 50% of my $5,000 goal. So thank you guys for supporting me. So we're just going to hit a bunch of stories on surveillance and facial recognition. So I'll try not to make this too long, but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a bunch of stories to go through. So buckle up. And as I said, I want to elaborate that, if you don't understand why surveillance stories are important. I know some folks are like, well, they've already got our faces, or we've already given everything over with our smartphones and our cell phones. Well, you don't have to. You can live differently. But you can also realize that there still are some measures of privacy that we have that are worth fighting for and standing up for in whatever way you choose to. But this one is coming from The Conversation: Insurance, Black Boxes, and the Surveillance State. How free are you really? Written by Associate Lecturer of Literature and Philosophy at Lancaster University, Mike Ryder. So now all these links are going to be in the description below the video. But he basically goes into how people are now starting to get offered black boxes in their vehicles. Some of you may be doing this already to get cheaper insurance. So if you want cheaper insurance and you're willing to let them track you all the time, then you are basically giving up some of your privacy. And this person on Twitter kind of made a joke about it. Need a I have a black box sticker so people stop wanting to kill me obeying the 20 mile per hour speed limit on the headland. So I think what they're saying there is that if you drive slow, the speed limit, then you're not going to get penalized by your insurance, and you'll get lower rates because they can see that you are an example driver, a good driver. So that's kind of crazy because I don't drive that often. I do have an RV vehicle, but I don't really drive, and I just don't have a new vehicle anyway, so I can't imagine just willingly putting this device inside of my car to monitor me. And they go into, of course, the famous example of Jeremy Bentham's panopticon concept from the 18th century, which describes an ideal form of prison where inmates live under the constant threat of surveillance. And here's a diagram of it. While in reality, each individual prisoner is barely watched at all, there remains the chance that they might be being watched at any moment. So it just keeps people afraid. And they describe the black box as sort of that kind of thing. It says, while Bentham's panopticon has since fallen out of favor, the concept continues to this day and ties in very closely with our understanding of surveillance culture and biopolitics. That is the way the state takes life, its central objective, and frames our lives as constantly under threat. You may, for example, notice that in many shopping outlets, the warning signs about CCTV coverage are far more prominent than the cameras themselves. This is because the security team can't watch all people at all times, but the possibility of surveillance is used as a means to encourage good behavior. And he wraps up here. The whole concept of the black box and what it says about our surveillance culture poses some interesting dilemmas. We accept conformity and regulation as a way to keep us safe from harm, do we? But at the same time, we also want freedom and to feel as though we're still in control. This is why transgression is such an important part of modern life. If we don't believe we have the free will to break rules, then we are forced to confront that tension at the heart of our daily lives. On one hand, we want freedom, but we also want safety and to live our lives free from harm. I'll take freedom over safety any day. We can't have it both ways, so breaking the rules, if only just a little bit, gives us some access to the illusory freedom that we give up as citizens of the surveillance state. Something to think about next time you drive 80 miles per hour down the highway. It's kind of crazy though, but yeah, people are acquiescing. That's one way. How about you stop? Don't do that, guys. It's stupid. Don't put a freaking black box in your car. Yeah, we can think of all kind of reasons that it might be beneficial, but I'd say no. This one is from Courthouse News, talking about the EFF nonprofit suing for info on warrantless GPS tracking of vehicles. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is suing the Department of Homeland Security for failing to respond to 2 FOIA requests seeking documents about the agency's warrantless installation of GPS tracking systems on vehicles at ports of entry. Warrantless installation of GPS tracking systems along ports of entry. The complaint, which was filed in D.C. court on Tuesday, references a 2018 case in which agents in Michigan used tracking equipment without a warrant to monitor a truck which was allegedly transporting drugs to California. Agents installed the device on the vehicle as it passed through a border crossing in Canada and later declared in court that they had been authorized to do so as long as the device was deactivated within 48 hours. So as long as they do it within 2 days, they can violate your rights. The California District Court eventually ruled the use of tracking systems in that case violated a Supreme Court decision from 2012 called U.S. versus Jones, in which police tracked Antoine Jones for a month with a GPS system without a warrant and ended up arresting him for drug possession. The Supreme Court unanimously ruled that the use of tracking systems without a warrant violated the Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure. So the EFF is arguing on a similar grounds that the Department of Homeland Security is withholding information related to tracking, and that the courts have already shown that it's illegal, and so they need to hand it over. The EFF's lawsuit seeks responses to the organization's 2 requests for documents relating to the reference policies. So these requests came from November 2018. Interesting stuff there. We'll have to keep an eye on that to see how it develops. Then I got this one here, also from EFF. Communities across the country reject automatic license plate readers. And now, guys, look, any of these surveillance topics, because this has been something that I have heavily focused on over the years, you can search Derrick Broze. Don't use Google. You can use any of the other cool alternative search engines. Derrick Broze and automatic license plate readers, or ALPRs as they're known for short, or Derrick Broze and Stingrays, or surveillance, or facial recognition, or biometrics, and you will find all of the articles I've written over the years for a number of different outlets. I've been covering this for years, trying to get people to pay attention to the growing surveillance state for at least the last decade. And I know there have been people before me, but I mean, I'm alive now, and it's just so obvious people are freaking not paying attention. But this is about people actually paying attention. Recent months have seen a wave of cities and counties around the country rejecting the use of ALPRs, automatic license plate readers, in their communities, citing privacy concerns posed by the technology. Added to recent local level victories barring the use of facial recognition, which we talked about previously, San Francisco, Oakland, and other places banning facial recognition, it is encouraging to see local governments across the nation lead the way and proactively stemming the tide of invasive surveillance technologies. Now, automatic license plate readers are cameras that can be placed on top of car vehicles or inside the cars or at tollways and all kinds of different things. And they're very fast cameras that scan license plates, and they have built databases. And there's some of these companies that sell these databases to police and to other companies for various pieces of information. And what they're able to do is to develop hot lists where they can essentially just track any car they want based on the license plate. And, oh, I saw it over here. Oh, it went over there. And after a while, you can develop a pattern of somebody's life and what they're like and what they do. And that can be very dangerous because you can tell a lot from a person based on where they go and who they hang out with, or they can make assumptions. And these cameras are popping up everywhere. It says location-based information collected over time can reveal intimate details of a person's life, such as where they work and live, where they pray, where they seek medical treatment, and who their friends or romantic partners are. So, Half Moon Bay, California, Delano, California, Michigan City, India, Suffolk County, New York, Pima County, Arizona. Just a few examples of people pushing back against automatic license plate readers. So, as they said, communities are rejecting ALPRs. Communities are rejecting facial recognition. What about your community? Are you doing anything? Are you doing anything? Are you doing anything? Speaking of facial recognition technology, Politico reports that House leaders will consider a moratorium on funding facial recognition following a House Oversight Committee hearing on the DHS facial recognition programs. This was after the Electronic Privacy Information Center, or EPIC, briefed members of the House committee about the current entry-exit program at U.S. airports, which we've been talking about for a while too. This is one of the reasons why I think 2020 is going to be a big year, because you won't be able to fly in the U.S. anymore without submitting to some kind of facial recognition technology. Originally, they said it was just for international travelers. Now it's domestic travelers all over the country. It's coming, and I don't know what to do. Air travelers have reported that it is difficult to opt out, and the agency has still not conducted a required rulemaking. Last month, EPIC led a coalition of 35 organizations urging Congress to halt the use of facial recognition on the public, and in a statement to April, the House Appropriations Committee recommended that EPIC recommended that Congress halt the funding for facial recognition program at the TSA and within the DHS. And then BuzzFeed reported on documents which were obtained by Epic about plans to expand facial recognition at airports, and 2 different senators called for a suspension of the program. So there is some pushback taking place in the legislative level. I know we can't really give that too much weight because they're usually full of shit, but it does show you that there is pushback from the kind of activist grassroots level to the technological level to the advocacy level to the political level. Now, we should counter that story, talking about Congress considering a moratorium, with this piece from a month or two ago from the 10th Amendment Center, which does great work. If you don't know about them, Michael Bolden, don't rely on Congress to stop facial recognition surveillance. And he goes through that and why you should, Mike, one of the guys with the 10th Amendment Center, goes through why you should fight this on the local level or the state level and not rely on Congress. I think that's a wise move. Then this facial recognition story, 10 reasons why you should be worried about the new technology. It puts us on a path towards automated blanket surveillance. It operates without a clear legal or regulatory framework. It violates the principles of necessity and proportionality. It violates our right to privacy. It has a chilling effect on our, quote, democratic political culture. It denies citizens the opportunity for consent. It is often inaccurate. We're going to talk about that. It can lead to automation bias. It implies there are secret government watch lists, which there are. It can be used to target already vulnerable groups. And they're saying a debate is sorely needed. So, yeah, again, read all these articles. And this is just a few weeks back. Facial recognition is now rampant. This is from The Guardian. The implications for our freedoms are chilling. Again, I don't know how many different ways I can show you this and how many different articles. You got to spread this information at the very least. Then the ACLU of Northern California shows that facial recognition technology falsely identifies 26 California legislatures with mugshots. And this is where we go back to this, where it talks about being inaccurate. We've seen this already a couple different times where these algorithms can display a certain bias or can misidentify people. So after putting facial recognition technology to the test using photos of 120 members of the California state legislature, the ACLU released results that further support the need for the bill AB 1215, which bans facial recognition in police body cameras. That's the next stage, and I've talked about this for years as well. Go back and find an old article called Don't Fall for the Body Camera Deception that I wrote, and it talks all about this, that once they got body cameras on everybody for accountability, they were going to go towards facial recognition, installing them, and now Amazon, through the program Recognition, spelled with a K, is making that happen. So, yeah. They're trying to fight it on the legislative level in California, because it's inaccurate. And one other thing I'll recommend from the 10th Amendment Center, this is just put out a couple of days ago from the 10th Amendment Center website. They need much more subscribers and views because they do good work. Michael Bolden, facial recognition, law enforcement misleads as public debate rages on. I recommend watching that. And then one final one related to this whole, smart city surveillance grid. Senators press the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to ask about the steps taken to protect consumers from the security vulnerabilities of interconnected cars, otherwise known as autonomous vehicles, driverless vehicles. These are the things that people are in a rush to get here in Houston and elsewhere as part of the 5G smart grid, the Internet of Things. And as I've done a video recently showing you guys, there's 2 studies that have come out in the last month talking about them being able to be hacked and crashed, and how it would only take hacking less than 10% of the vehicles and shutting them down to gridlock a city like New York. So the senators, Ed Markey of Massachusetts and Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, wrote, quote, "We are concerned by the lack of publicly available information about the occurrence and handling of cyber vulnerabilities in internet-connected cars, and I believe that the NHTSA would be aware of these dangers in order to make possible regulatory action." So again, just shows you that it's being fought on the legislative level, if nothing else. So I just want to recommend you guys dig into these stories a little bit on your own. I'll throw in a bunch of links below, and you can get into those on your own time. But that's where we're at, guys. I mean, we do have some privacy, and as I could just showed you, there is some level of resistance going on, but it's not much, and it doesn't really look good. But it's up to each of us, I would say, I believe, to put up an effort to spread awareness, to fight, to challenge these systems, and to expose people. That's why I write articles. That's why I do these videos. That's why I get involved in my community one way or the other. It doesn't mean politics. It can mean anything. Just talk to people. So if you want to help me support my efforts to continue doing this and spreading awareness, please do consider donating to our Support the Future of the Conscious Resistance Network crowdfunding campaign, which ends in a day and a half. And that's it, guys. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.